All right, so we've taken you through the full arc of the coaching conversation. And this video is our final in this 5-part series on becoming an exceptional coach. So at the MRA, we talk a lot about that coaching is so much more than something you do. Coaching is someone you become. Mandy, thinking back to your journey of becoming a world-class coach, what was that moment from taking it to doing, I'm doing a skill, I'm doing something, to just becoming and embodying the mind and heart of a coach?
Yeah. And it was a journey to get to this, like as I went through my training and the time you take inside of training to like really get to this understanding. And it might not be the case for everyone, but for me, the becoming came in two places. One was my reflective practice. And whenever I say that, what I mean is the type of person that I am, my excellence comes from really knowing what I need before a session and subsequently after a session. So I call that my reflective practice because I am both tuning in to what I needed to do to get into this, like the mindset to hold these conversations for these other humans. What did I have to do? What work did I need to do before I could enter into these conversations? So that was on the front end. And then on the back end was really taking the time to be reflective. What went well in that conversation? What was coming up for me? Was there anything that I was doing that, as we talked to, as was talked about in the previous episodes, it's like, was I maybe getting a little too involved in solutioning or decision making? Was there anything coming up for me? And as I started asking myself those questions more consistently and more honestly, I started really getting a chance to explore who I was as a coach. So I was like, I was exploring and I was being reflective with myself, honestly. And that was allowing my skills to come forward, but like me as a coach to emerge, who I was as a coach. Now, the second part of this was this piece around exquisite self-care. I could not do this work if I didn't completely change the way I value myself. Like I had to change from, oh, coaching is like, oh, I'm gonna help you and I'm gonna do all these things. I had to change that into, I need to be the most solid I can be to hold this space for another human, even though there's all kinds of stuff going on in life. I mean, life happens. Life is real. We're not robots doing this work. But like I still needed to say what practices do I need to do in order to show up strong in these conversations? And that wasn't just about like what I do like a half an hour before a conversation. This is like, who am I in my life? Who am I in my life? What am I living into my values? Am I being coached? Am I accessing the services that I need in order to be supported deeply? Because like my support, my mental health, my ability to show up strong for other people is up to me. So I needed to like rearrange things in my life to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be solid showing up in these conversations for other humans. And that meant like a lot of a lot of pushing things away and saying no, not that anymore, and welcoming other things into my life. That now it's like, oh, you know, I don't think I'm selfish whenever I'm like, nope, I do need a night away. I need a night away in a hotel without kids, without partner. I need to go away for a night because that's what I need. And that's something I never would have asked for before. But now I know it's like my recharge. So like that's what I mean when I say like my exquisite self-care.
So exquisite self-care in all of the aspects of life, and having this reflective practice that helps to hone in on our skill set, hone in on what went really well, what's our superpower as a coach, and where are what we call our growing edges? Where are the areas of growth for me where I want to continue to get stronger in my skill? Mandy, you talked about, I just want to circle back on this exquisite self-care. So often people who come into coaching come in because they have a great big heart.
Yep.
And they want to serve and they want to help and they want to be there for their people, for those they love and serve. Mm-hmm. And holding space, holding the kind of space that we've been talking about, holding this transformative space for others, while it might seem, we've talked a lot about there's no advice giving. Actually, the client should be doing 80% of the talking and the coach should be doing 20% or less, right? The coach is holding a lot of silence, a lot of pauses, a lot of space. And it actually might sound like the coach isn't doing very much, but it is, every ounce of it is active. Every ounce of it is presence. Yeah. True, authentic listening, where the coach is not filtering the client's words through their own past lived experience and projecting those experiences onto the client. True, authentic listening, where we're not thinking about anything else, or we're not thinking about the arc of the coaching conversation or the next powerful question I want to ask or catching the awareness. When we're not thinking, because those things do eventually become second nature. Yeah, right?
They do.
But all of that requires an enormous amount of presence and energy.
The energy that is required. Yeah.
It is. There is nothing that brings me greater joy than to hold space for another. I mean, the alignment and the joy you feel as a coach when holding space for someone and their truth and wisdom and next best steps are emerging in conversation. It's such an incredible experience, and it requires energy. Mm-hmm. And so taking care of yourself to make sure that you're transitioning from whatever's happening in your life, like you can't rush into a coaching session. Mm. Not possible. Nope. You need to create space for yourself, rituals, practices, create space for yourself to come into that presence, to get right with anything that's going on inside of yourself, to lay those things down, to kind of reset your nervous system so that you can arrive really grounded and present and inside of your authentic listening for your client. And likewise, afterwards, there's a little bit of a recharge that happens after.
Definitely.
Recharging your batteries, recharging your energy after. And so these things this is one of our guiding principles on the Mind Rebel Academy as a Mind Rebel coach is you lead by example by practicing exquisite self-care. Mm-hmm. We can't, I mean, the saying that you can't serve from an empty cup. I mean, right. You need to make sure that you're taking personal responsibility for your cup overflowing so that you can pour onto others. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Mandy?
Just on what you were saying, about like the holding the conversations, whether you're doing this as a coach client, or even if you're doing this, if you're a leader and you're holding space for, a colleague or an employee, perhaps it's the same principles apply. Really making sure that you are able to show up in a conversation with that human that's in front of you with some of these coaching skills that we've discussed means that, you don't fit them in, you don't, rush the conversation or, so if you are going to step into this mindset and inside of this, it's about doing that with intention and knowing that you can do this with anybody right now. You can start this today. Mm-hmm. You can make the commitment that any conversations that you have are going to be deeply, you're going to practice the presence, or you're going to practice the intentional listening and the authentic listening. But it's like whenever we think about, I'm just thinking about the work environment, for example, we can often want to be coaching or want to be supporting in a work environment, but we don't leave the space. And then if you've taken on or you've listened to a heavy conversation from a colleague, You maybe are not doing what you need to take care of yourself afterwards. So that it really does kind of trickle into lots of areas of your life versus just in the
Right.
coach-client relationship.
It's when you're holding space for employees. It's when you're holding space for your children,
That's
for
it.
your partner, for your friends, for your family. It's for all of those you love and serve. And I can say that I believe that gifting this space, like holding that space for another, truly listening, giving your full attention, honoring their own wisdom without trying to fix, save, heal, or put them back together. Seeing them as whole and not broken, no matter how they're arriving in the conversation with you,
That's right.
holding that wholeness for them. It is the most impactful and powerful gift that you could possibly give to another human being.
It really is.
It really is. And that is the gift of coaching.
Yeah.
So, again, with the practice of these skills, with practicing all of the skills of coaching, it is a becoming. It is a complete rewiring of your brain, rewiring of how you listen to others, how you ask your questions, how you perceive others, how you perceive the world. And if coaching skills, if you've gotten a lot out of the last 5 training videos on the arc of the coaching conversations, if you want to go deeper, I invite you to jump on a call with our Director of Admissions, Kelly Duncan, at the Mind Rebel Academy, and talk to us about what you're yearning for in terms of your coaching skills. The MRA is a small, intimate boutique academy, and we are for a reason. It's because every single student who steps into our space, steps into our virtual space, are there for the right reasons, and we are there to fully wrap them up and support them in their not just skills development, but in their full embodiment and becoming of a world-class coach.